So, Tony, tell us about those other stars.
I just had one job to do. Anyway, yes. Well, welcome to March, and we actually have planets back in the evening sky, but there's a number of other things happening this month too that we need to get through first. So, on ahead, we have the vernal equinox. Actually, a lot of astronomers now call it the March equinox because it starts spring in the northern hemisphere and autumn in the southern. Vernal refers to the spring equinox, so it's kind of northern hemisphere centric. So I may change that in the future. But anyway, it happens March 20th at 9:15 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, and we'll mention that in a moment too. And of course, we'll have our typical ceremony, I'm sure, here, marking both the local noon, which will happen close to 1 o'clock because of daylight saving time, and the direct to the west sunset in the 12-hour-long day. And speaking of daylight saving time, you will lose an hour of sleep on March 11th. 2 o'clock a.m. won't exist. It will go from 1:59 a.m. to 3 o'clock a.m. Okay, another unusual thing about this month is it's another blue moon month. So if you saw the moon yesterday before the clouds closed over us, you saw the full moon, first of the month, but at the very end of the month on the 31st, we'll have another full moon. Now, blue moons typically happen about once every 2 or 3 years. What's unusual this year is that it's the second one. January was a blue moon month. There was no full moon at all in February because it's a short month sandwiched between two blue moon months. So now we get another one in March. And that kind of thing won't happen again until several decades from now. Enough said. Okay. In the western sky, right after sunset, you can see the brightest planet of all, Venus. It's come back around the sun, and it'll be in our sky for another 7 months or so. So if you look about a little after 6 p.m., it's easy to see. And there's another planet next to it. The innermost planet, Mercury, will stay very close to Venus. Now, unfortunately, it was cloudy today. It'll probably be cloudy tomorrow night when they're at their very closest. But they will actually be pretty close to each other for the first 3 weeks of March. So if you see Venus, look for Mercury to its right. And actually, the moon will join them just before Mercury disappears. So here's the view on the 18th. And again, daylight saving time, so look around 6:18, or 7:18 rather, on that date. In the morning sky, we see what we typically call the summer constellations, like Scorpius and Sagittarius. We mentioned those earlier with the center of the Milky Way. But the bright planet, or the outermost planets, Jupiter, Mars, and Saturn, not in that order from the sun, are now visible before sunrise, starting a little after 3 in the morning and until dawn is well advanced. Mars is still incredibly far away. I mean, it's I didn't check the exact distance, but it's only about a quarter as large as it will appear when it's 35 million miles from us at the end of July. But already, amateur astronomers using professional telescopes and video techniques are getting stunning images. This is Damien Peach, who's an electrical engineer in England, but he's allowed to use one of the telescopes in Chile, and just a beautiful image showing almost Hubble kind of detail.
And I think before we leave the subject of Mars, we should say that when it does have its closest approach in the end of July, we will be having an event late here at the observatory.
That's right. You'll see the exact moment when it's at its very closest. Mm-hmm. And we get the best view in LA from northern hemispheres.
Yeah.
Planet Jupiter, another image by Damien Peach, shows, I'm sorry, this is Clyde Foster, who's a South African amateur astronomer. This is with a 14-inch telescope, but a beautiful view of Jupiter now showing the red spot. And again, this is the brightest of the morning planets. Saturn is the lowest of them, so even, of course, Saturn typically is photographed in color, but right now the sharpest images are just through red filters. So this is what you could see at high power through a telescope in the morning. The moon will pass by these planets starting on March 7th. So if you happen to be up early, 45 minutes before sunrise, which will become an hour earlier by the end of this passage because of the change of time, you'll see it go by the planet Jupiter. Now, Antares is the bright star in Scorpius. Antares means rival of Mars because its color and brightness right now are actually very similar to Mars. The ancient Greek name means rival of Mars, just because of that similarity. Now, Mars isn't always there, but when it passes by, they do look kind of like twins.
And you'll see them duke it out in the sky. So.
That's right.
Yeah.
So over the next few mornings, you'll see the moon sail past like Antares, Mars, and then Saturn. There is a rocket launch that we may be able to see from here. This is another Falcon 9 launch from Vandenberg Air Force Base. This one is carrying the next set of Iridium satellites to replace the highly visible ones that we like so much. But this one will happen a little bit after sunrise at 7:19 a.m., so it should be visible. There was, and we'll talk more about it a little later, there was a launch earlier this month, right about sunrise. So the next picture kind of gives you an idea of what it might look like from LA.